The arf 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 arf. The little chihuahua, little ankle biter. Arf arf. Alright, today we are gonna. My goal is to finish The Walking Dead. Alright, my goal is to finish The Walking Dead tonight. Okay, because I think I only have like 3 episodes left. Because season 4 only has 4 episodes. Yes, I think. Yeah. Season 4 only had 4 episodes. We finished 1 last time. We're gonna start 2. You finished The Walking Dead? Yes, sir! Yes, sir! Yes. Start episode 2. Oh, hold on. Let me have some music. Oh my god. You know, I can't believe it. I have not slept since yesterday. AJ and I had been searching. And I'm surprised that I'm still like functional. For some place we could call home. I'm surprised I'm still functional. It's crazy. It turned out to be a trap. Oh yeah, I remember episode 1. AJ shot. That could have been the end. I forgot his name. That one kid. That one kid was the mullet. But I woke up and found I'd been saved by a guy named Marlon. Marlon, yeah. The leader of a community, living inside an old boarding school. It felt like a chance. AJ is kind of like a sociopath. We had to go back to the train station to see if any food survived the explosion. But someone else had the same idea. Oh yeah, that guy! We killed him! When AJ distracted him, I shoved him into a pack of walkers. AJ looked happy, I remember. I found Marlon and Brody in the basement that night, arguing about the scene. I think you can function up to 2 or 3 and I learned why Brody was so days afraid. Without sleep, I think? Really? 3 is kind of crazy though. A group of raiders they'd run into a year ago. I've definitely stayed up for like 2 days. Tennessee's older sisters to the raiders to keep himself safe. He attacked Brody and locked me in the basement with her. Oh yeah, Brody died. And she like smacked her with a flashlight. I had to stop her. Marlon stole AJ's gun and tried to convince them I. How you started tweaking it? I don't know. With everyone against him, the fight went out of Marlon. I think I have. I told him he could stay, but he couldn't be our leader. My hands are shaking. Oh my god, I drank so much caffeine. Marlon was dead, and AJ pulled the trigger. I used to drink a whole lot. I'm not like kidding. Like a couple years ago, I used to like drink a whole ton of like caffeine, and like, my hands would like literally start shaking because I was like caffeine overdose. Because I've been up for like so long. Good? My longest was 46. 46! Oh my god. What did you even do in those 46 hours? That's right. Marlon is dead. Where's AJ? Oh, he's cooking food?
I made you some coffee.
Oh, coffee.
It was in the kitchen. Think of the
flip.
I didn't steal it.
I'm surprised you remember how to make it. We haven't had coffee in
played
a
lot of games. You played a lot of games.
You're right. Thanks.
Not gonna lie, the only reason why I've been up
I heard Lewis
so long is because I've been playing Baldur's Gate.
Am I a murderer?
Yes. Can I say yes?
No! Oh my god!
Shit! We could get medicine from the nurse's office.
He's dead.
Medicine for a shot in the head? He's not gonna survive that!
He's dead. You're a murderer. You promised Marlon.
She's
You
on
said
the
you
grind.
loved him, fix things.
I'm
What
always
the fuck did you
grinding.
teach this kid?
Lewis called me a murderer. But we're supposed to kill bad stuff. Monsters. Did I do it bad? I thought Marlon was bad. He killed Brody.
What
he
you
kept
did was
telling
wrong.
lies.
Lewis was right. Sometimes people do bad things, like Marlon did. When you shot him, he wasn't a threat to us anymore. If you kill someone when they're no longer threatening you, that's murder.
Yeah. Gotta
What are we
tell him
gonna
the
do?
truth, you know? What? My relationship with AJ changed? Changed to what?
Back off, all of you!
It was under control. I talked Marlon down. Then
What?
he murdered my fucking friend.
Take AJ, go inside.
Come on, let's go.
Oh, just let
You
them
mean
go
he
back to
did
the
wrong
dorms?
things for the right
What
reason?
happens the next time one of us
Yeah,
does
but-
something this
yeah,
kid doesn't like?
basically.
Should we expect a bullet too?
That's
Oh.
not what happened.
It's exactly what happened. It was over. To little Mr. Trigger Happy decided otherwise.
Why they tried to kill us?
Marlon started this. He killed Brody and almost got me too.
Oh my god.
AJ did what he had to do.
But he had to? He didn't have to shoot Marlon in the fucking
Okay, now
skull.
I'm being
It was
like...
over.
Get it.
Okay.
Lewis, just back
I don't
off.
know if it's safe to take.
Back off? Seriously?
Welcome in, welcome.
Let's go.
How are you? How is your day?
If I'm a murderer, am I gonna die too?
Yes.
What? No.
Well, I think murderers are like monsters, and I know what happens to monsters.
Everybody has a little
Nothing good.
beast in them.
Nothing good at all.
They can be forgiven.
We can forgive them.
I woke up like
Murderers,
5
even
minutes
some
ago.
monsters,
5 minutes
get a
ago. Oh
second
my
chance.
god.
Some
Did
monsters.
you have like good
Not all.
sleep?
When
I wish I
bad
could sleep.
people, like murderers, try to make it right, that's when other people forgive
I haven't
them.
slept.
That sounds
I don't
hard.
even remember the last time I was sleeping.
It is. We're going to fix this, you and me.
I've been sleeping, not gonna
I'm
lie.
going to help you atone.
I love sleep.
Atone? It means make up for what you did wrong. We'll make
Had
it
a
all
nightmare?
right
You
for
had
the
a
others.
nightmare? Purple Wolf! Why do I feel like you're always having nightmares?
Someone help me with this.
Save you from that car wreck and you fucking murdered him?
Get back, Mitch. Get back.
Or what?
Oh,
You gonna let him kill me too? Then who's next? A sim?
you can't keep killing each
Haven't
other.
enough people died tonight? Brody, Marlon, we can't keep killing each other.
Fuck are you saying that to me after what he did? Screw both of you.
He's a kid. He don't know. He don't know.
Hey, who
Long
is it?
hair Shen still sucks. You don't like
You've
it,
killed a
Ripple
lot
Wolf.
of people.
I think you're the only person who doesn't like it. Not gonna lie, I'm
said it
kind
was
of iffy about it too. I
wasn't
kind of
a
want to redo it, but then like I've already like
that
done
means
all
you
of this
murdered
thing, you know, and I'm like, I might as well lose it. I made the wrong
You
decision.
wanted me to kill him so he wouldn't turn. And now I wish it hadn't been me who had
Yup.
to do it.
No, Clementine.
I love you, Clem.
Should you be making these life-altering decisions with no sleep? I mean, that's the best time to be making it, right? Thank you for the head pass. Thank you. Bald Shannon win. Would you guys like a bald Shannon with my shiny forehead?
Violet said to come get you for the funeral.
Really?
We used to have them more. Then we stopped. It seems right, though. I brought you something.
For me?
I figured you'd be afraid, with
Oh.
everyone all upset. But you were brave last night. Like a firefighter.
No.
Hmm.
Firefighters are good. I'm a murderer.
No, you're not. You gotta have a trial first. They decide that stuff in a courtroom.
Oh wait, that
That's how
kid's
it
pretty
works.
smart.
Work.
Democracy?
Back then, there were all kinds of rules about who was innocent, who was guilty. It was complicated.
We have to decide things for ourselves now.
New
we can't
rules.
rely on
New
other
rules.
people to make the rules for us.
And make a solar flare redeem like
Decided
Krillin's shiny
you were
head.
a murderer. She's right.
You know, maybe
So is
I might
everyone
do
else.
that, huh? Maybe. We'll see. I'll put
You
that
sure
in my
you don't want
notes.
your firefighter?
You should keep him, because you're good like him. But maybe
You think
we
his
could
sisters
play
are
with
still
him later?
alive? I think his
Together?
sisters are still
Sure.
alive.
After the funeral. They buried them already. Battle started soon.
So we know
See,
Marlon sold. He sold the sister. But we don't know
This
if they're
is
still
gonna be
alive or
hard.
not. There's no way
Everyone's going to
they're
be upset.
cannibals,
We
right?
have to
They
show
ate
them
the
we care,
sisters.
Okay?
Or just like held them captive.
Okay.
Is what I'm assuming. Okay, what I'm assuming. Drink coffee. Oh, I love caffeine. Yum. Vanilla bush, goat nerd head. I remember. Oh.
They look good together.
Do you think his is better?
No, I like them both.
Nah, his is way better. Anything else I can look at? Talk to AJ?
Time to go.
Soon.
Soon? Is that everything I need to look at? My hat? No? Anything? Look up? No? Down? Is it? Oh! Their school? Is this relevant? Don't tell me I have to kill someone with that.
Ready?
I think I'm gonna have to. The room starts spinning. Okay, let's go, AJ. AJ is shaped by what you teach him. Shen raising a child. Not a good thing. I would definitely make the kid evil. I'm not even kidding. Unintentionally too. Like, whoops. I accidentally created a sociopath. Not my fault, okay? He was born like that. R.I.P. Brody. R.I.P. Marlon. You'd be swearing like a sailor.
Oh, God. They're here.
So what?
Sailor?
They knew Brody,
But
didn't they?
I hardly even
Marlon,
know
Just leave
her.
them alone.
Shit.
Oh god, I gotta stop saying that.
What? Why do people have funerals? Sin said they used to have them more.
They died.
But I don't get it.
To say one last
Well,
goodbye,
Say goodbye to someone you've lost.
right?
But they're
That's
dead.
the purpose of a funeral, right?
This is your last chance to see them before they're gone forever.
I made them all sad. Like if someone took you away. Does everyone get a funeral?
People do. Some animals, too.
Even monsters?
Everyone gets one.
Even monsters.
I don't know. Do you
10.
give monsters a
You
funeral?
ready?
Brody.
Monsters?
you wanted to
Yeah,
go to the beach.
monsters.
So, I drew it for you.
I mean, they called the zombies monsters because they're kids.
Marlon was...
I can't. Not for Marlon.
After what he did to the twins and Brody,
You didn't even like Brody.
You didn't even like Brody! Why are you being so sentimental right now?
someone else do it.
Dude, don't. Seriously, Lewis.
Damn!
Who's your best friend? Wasn't perfect, but he deserved better than to get gunned down by a kid. AJ killed him like it was nothing.
AJ made a mistake.
And no one stopped him.
You're right, Mitch. Marlon didn't deserve what AJ did to him.
Thanks for
I know
the
what I did.
fuck! Welcome in, Nico! Welcome! How are you? How was your day?
But I'm gonna...
Dad, you little monster!
yeah, atone.
Fuck, I can't listen to this.
Oh. Is
What I
AJ
did
gonna
was
die?
bad, and I'm gonna make it up to you. I promise.
You don't have to make up shit. Marlon was a fucking murderer and a liar, and if we'd all asked more questions about Minnie and Sophie disappearing last year,
She's
none of this would have happened.
She's kind of mean.
She's got a point.
Shut up! It wasn't Marlon's fault.
Then whose fault was it?
AJ was still wrong.
Whatever happened before, AJ shouldn't have killed Marlon.
Yeah, he wasn't hurting anybody when I killed him.
See what I mean? How can any of us trust these fucking people?
What are you saying?
I'm saying they gotta fucking go.
Oh!
Take a vote.
Are they gonna kick me out?
Majority decides. They stay or they leave. Today.
I'm okay with leaving.
That does seem fair.
Are you serious? It's bullshit.
You're bullshit.
Go ahead and
I don't
vote.
want to leave.
Democracy.
You all decide we should. We'll go.
Clem,
You heard her, kid.
A vote's the only way to settle this, or we'll be arguing forever.
Fine. I guess we're fucking voting.
You think they're gonna keep me in? I mean, their leader is
Louis
dead,
needs to vote.
and I think the
Could you go
best
get him?
person
And
in line
try
to
to
be
talk
the
to
leader
him.
is, you know, not trying to say me, but probably me.
Could you guys go wait in the dorm? I'll come get you.
Okay. Wait, did he say he wasn't hurt anyone when I killed? Yeah, he
please
did.
don't kick us out.
Aww.
Come on, let's go.
Let's go, AJ. Oh, like biting someone? Yeah. AJ bit someone. The lady. I forgot. The lady's the orange hair. The girl. Not gonna lie, biting is such a good, like, defensive, like, mechanism. You know? Oh, welcome in, Epi-chan. Welcome. Epi-chan. Hi. Bro, go to bed. Bro, go to bed. What is the bed? What is the bro? What am I? I will after this stream. Shit, I want to spit on your head. I don't know what. What? What do you mean? You want to spit on my head? What do you mean? Mike Tyson enters the chat. Yellow flowers. Will you be my bed? Cause I want to be on top of. Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey yo! Are we just waiting in a room? Because you're tiny, it would be easy too. I don't know. What do you mean it'll be easy too? He's gonna on my head. That's terrible. That's terrible. I'll spit back. Watch. I have really good aim.
AJ, stop.
Why are you kicking the
Pick your toe
wall?
or something.
Don't kick the wall. Don't kick the. Why is it paused? Okay.
Come here. Sit down.
No. It didn't work. I did what you said
On
and
top
they
of my
didn't
sleep
even care.
schedule. I don't know what you were thinking. Oh,
I
damn.
know that I was
I was
bad,
thinking
but
you
they
wanted to be
won't
on
let
top of
me
me.
fix it.
AJ, breathe. Remember what we do when we're mad?
Damn, you just crushed my dreams.
You don't want to be loud, do you? What do
Stop
we do
kicking,
when we're mad?
AJ! Oh my god.
we stop and think
hey yo, hey yo.
I'm still really, really mad. I know that I'm not supposed to get mad.
It's okay to be upset.
And you have every reason to be upset.
Mad
We'll
or
deal with it
sad.
together.
I mean,
okay?
I mean what, huh?
Okay.
What are you trying to say, huh?
We stop.
It's how fanboys will take over the world. Watch. I would love that. I would love to watch, actually.
Feel better? You're still mad, huh?
And, I think I'm
He's
sad
a fucking 9-year-old? How you expect a child to process their emotions? Well, he killed a person.
I did what you told me to.
He's good, he's okay.
I know. You're a good listener.
I wanted to make them all feel better. It didn't work. Why'd you tell me to do that if it didn't work?
It's the effort that matters. Don't give up yet.
We don't know that it didn't work. They might have voted for us to stay.
Yeah.
I don't know. They seem pretty mad.
Shen is old?
Violet was on
What
our
do you
side.
mean I'm old?
Maybe
Can you
she'll
guys believe
persuade
it's
the
almost been
others.
3 years since
Yeah, maybe.
It's almost been
wanna
3
go.
years since I first started streaming. Can you believe that?
I
Oh
know
my
you
god.
I like knowing where we
I'm
are.
getting really old. I'm getting really old, Werewolf.
food.
Oh my god.
I like the other kids.
Watch
Not all
Fanboy
of them,
Hooters make
like
5 times more than
Tim,
regular Hooters.
Louis,
Isn't
and
there
Violet.
already a Fanboy Hooters? Or... But there's a boy version of Hooters, right?
We took the vote. You have to leave.
They kicked me out!
Don't we get to vote? I vote that we stay.
That's not how it works.
Maybe it should be.
You don't have to like it.
Good, because I don't.
Oh, I learned to live with it.
Fine. I get it. We'll learn to live with your decision somehow.
It's okay, we only been here for like, what,
That's it?
like 4 days?
You know this is fucking wrong.
You know?
And you're not gonna fight it at all?
What's the point? You've already decided.
Yes, we have.
So fucking stupid.
You said you'd go along with it, if we voted fairly.
It's bullshit. And you'd know it if you weren't so used to burying your head in the sand.
Oh?
Oh, I'm burying my
She's
head in the
calling him
sand?
a coward!
Hate Marlin all you want, but you can't tell me AJ's in dangerous too.
Oh. He's basically saying all children are
We'll
evil.
wait for you to pack up, and Louis and I'll escort you out past the safe zone. We'll make sure you get to the road safely.
Car wash easily 10 times more.
Not a lot, but it's some environment.
Damn, I would love to get my car washed by
We
like
could have happily
fanboys.
dumped you outside the gates.
We appreciate
Thanks
it.
for making sure that we...
No, don't thank them. It's their fault we gotta leave. They're gonna get rid of us.
No, it's your fault,
Get him
AJ. You
under
shot
control.
that guy. You shot their leader.
Breathe.
Also, shit, I need help. My TikTok is full of shirtless Asian dudes dancing. Share?
Where's Tim? I gotta say goodbye. He was really upset about the
That sounds
vote
like a
and
blast,
not
Werewolf.
talking to anyone. It's best to leave him alone when he's there. For the record, he wanted you to stay.
Wait. Does AJ still have that gun?
Yes. Are they gonna take his gun? Nah, they're gonna kick us
Hand it
out,
over.
but take the gun. How are we gonna defend
Is
ourselves?
this necessary?
Hell yes, it's necessary.
Keep the
It's
gun.
yours, AJ. You should keep it.
But I murdered Marlin with it.
Yeah, but you'll need protection outside.
Exactly.
Fine. Let the kid keep the murder weapon.
The murder weapon. Oh yeah, you know what else is a murder weapon? The flashlight that Marlon killed Brody with. Okay? Oh god. I kinda hate these people now. Freaking children. Where are we gonna go? Yeah, am I gonna meet that one guy then? Like the guy that we killed, his group? That's what I'm assuming. And then I go save the two sisters. The Marlon traded, and then I bring them back, and then boom, redemption, right? I gain their trust.
Will we get another car?
Probably not. We got lucky before.
So we're walking. My shoes are gonna break.
Well, we'll have to hope they hold out.
My feet are gonna bleed again.
We'll tear up a shirt and tie them up.
Rubber Wolves car wash,
Not
hell
so
yeah! I would love to see that. A 6 foot, six
I mean,
foot
you've done this
fin boy, bending over,
Probably pretty good at it. Yeah.
washing my car.
Almost like going home for you guys.
You have no idea what it's
You've
like.
lived inside walls your whole life. You have no fucking idea what it's like out there.
Exactly. Tell them, Clem. Tell them. They don't know. They don't understand.
We're here. The road's that way.
Anything you want to say before we go?
I've said plenty.
Thanks
Oh,
for
I have
trying
one
to
more
keep
thing. F you.
I wish you could stay.
I didn't want this.
Come on, let's just go.
I wish we
Give
had it
us a
fucked
minute.
up.
Would you?
Yeah, so do I. I wish we hadn't fucked it up.
You didn't. Marlon did.
Should we all
Even
be there in
dead,
your car?
he's still really shit.
Jesus, Violet. Give him some fucking
You
peace.
guys don't know it's so weird. Like whenever I go to like a car
stay
wash,
safe.
I always feel kind of awkward, you know? Cause like when you get out the car wash, you have like these two people who like dry your cars with like towels, right? And like
Still got that
you're
gun?
just there, sitting there while they like
Just
wipe your car down,
Try
and
to be
it's
more
like.
careful with it, okay?
You know, I'm like
Oh, yeah.
trying my hardest not to make eye contact with them, you know? I'm not a creep, I swear, you know, but it's just like, yeah,
Let's
I
get
want to
going.
watch without
Sunset
like,
soon.
How do you know?
I want to watch.
I don't know. I can just feel it.
How?
There's this cold that settles on my skin. It happens right before a storm, too.
I don't feel that.
You haven't been on the road as long as me.
Clem,
Hmm?
will we be okay?
You'll be
I
okay.
thought we were done running from all the bad people.
Yeah, it'll be
The
better.
monsters.
We'll find someplace new. Someplace better.
Have to
I'll
wear these
try
very
not to
short
mess it
jean
up.
shorts, you know, like in all those movies where the hot girl wash your car. Exactly, right? Exactly.
Hi.
Oh. What is that? A bomb? You're a watcher? I am a watcher. Sniper?
Now come on out. I saw a couple of you on the road.
Oh my god!
How long you think you can hide?
Cut off his arm!
That's the man from the train station?
Yes.
I thought he died.
You can survive a bite if you cut it off fast enough.
Ugh.
Stay here.
Aim using your mouse and press. Okay. Oh! Get the gun, AJ! Get the gun! Shippy!
Tough little bitch, aren't you?
Kick the gun away, Clem! Kick the gun away. Finish him off. Should I kill him? Fuck you! Fuck you, you! Uh-oh. Mommy better take photos! No! Come on, Clem. Aww! Where's AJ? AJ, stay hiding.
I wouldn't, boy. Any closer,
Oh.
your friend might get her head.
It's just like the one Andy Samberg movie. I forgot what it was. pop star or something. He does car wash and girls are right across. One guy is at the. Yeah, exactly like that. Oh, welcome in, Mom. Welcome.
You'll like him.
We're looking for.
The fuck's still streaming after this morning? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But what about me? What do you mean? What about you?
Shit.
This can still work.
How about it? You want to take us back to your school? Help us talk to your friends? It's not like you have many other options.
I don't live there.
Come on, kid. We don't want to be out here all day.
I don't live there.
It's not my school. I don't live there.
I find that very hard
Oh!
to believe.
Yeah, you taking photos.
Communes around here.
Business idea. Fanboy car wash. Tall fanboys in short jeans.
Like we ask.
You know,
Otherwise,
and then
I'm
mom
happy to
takes
crack his head
pictures.
You ever seen old fruit explode after you throw it at something? That's just how it
Yep.
Clementine!
Oh my god.
Wait!
Clementine, it's you? My name is Lily.
Lily's alive!
You probably don't remember me.
I remember you.
Lily?
Lily's alive!
You
Lily's
died.
alive!
I came close.
What the hell?
Not now.
Lily's
The
alive!
fuck is this?
I said not now.
I knew it. I told you guys. I always knew Lily was gonna be alive.
Lee isn't with you. So he's dead then. I'll never forget
God.
him leaving me on the side
Someone
of the road
found
to
out, or
die.
just an employee? I mean, you
I
could
don't
be
blame him.
co-founder.
I was clearly a threat to the group after I shot that girl.
Listen to Beryl, you didn't have the balls.
We should have left you behind too. I'd have lived longer if we did.
Oh my god,
Same thing will happen
balls!
to you if you repeat.
Thank you for the
this
20 months. Thank you. How was your stream? How was the rest of your
Die protecting
stream?
him.
Did you get far?
You may be able to keep this up a while longer, but eventually he'll slow you down. A walker you didn't spot. A bullet you couldn't dodge. A
He can
desperate
handle
cry
himself.
for help that brings the herd.
I don't think so. AJ knows how to handle himself.
He's got spirit, I'll give you that. But you and I know that won't be enough.
Fuck,
Why
we don't
is she
have
so
time for all this.
mean?
We've got history.
Great. You know
Oh yeah,
work,
because
I
we
know.
kicked her
Point
out
is,
of
we've got a job to do.
we kicked her out of the
Raise that boy,
group.
Clementine. But we need you to do something for us.
What? Help you kidnap a couple more kids?
We don't need a couple. We need all of you.
We'll take you back to the Delta to join our people. We have walls, we have working solar panels, and we grow our own food. All we need from you is to go back to your friends and convince them to come peacefully. No one will be harmed.
I'm not Marlin.
Here's what I'll do. I'll take the little squirt here right now.
Oh my god.
That way.
It was good, Lol. Got a bit farther.
Be smart
Nice,
about this
nice.
Clementine.
Good to hear. Good to
It's
hear.
an us or them kind of world
Oh,
plan.
thank you for the hydrate, Caro.
If
Thank you,
want
thank
to save your little one,
you.
you won't pick them.
I have a monster. I need to drink. Oh shit! Oh shit! I wasn't paying attention! Oh god! Whoops! Oops! I was drinking! I was drinking! I was drinking!
So he's dead then.
I was
I'll never
drinking!
forget
Okay,
him
I was
leaving me on the side of the road
drinking!
to die. I don't blame him.
Oh god.
He's clearly a
Just
threat
the
to
regular
group
one,
after I
regular
shot that
monster.
girl.
Carly.
Don't drink and
He should have
drive!
left you behind too. I'd have lived longer if he did.
Okay, okay.
Same thing will happen to you if you repeat his mistakes. Your little boy there, you'll die protecting him. You may be able to keep this up a while longer, but eventually he'll slow you down. A walker
I'm not
you
Lee.
didn't spot.
Let's go with that
A
one instead.
bullet you couldn't dodge. A desperate cry for help that brings the herd.
I'm not Lee. I've
Here you
survived
go.
for years
Drink
on
and
my
text
own.
me.
You've made it this far. I'll give you that.
Have you tried any of the
With you
color
and a few other
cans?
kids
I tried the
hiding
white
out in
one,
the woods, you have to know
the
that
watermelon
can't last.
one.
Fuck, we don't have time for all this.
We've got
I think so. I tried some other ones too. I just don't remember.
Point is, we've got a job to do.
We can help you raise that boy, Clementine. But we need you to do something for us.
What? Help you kidnap a couple more kids?
We don't need a couple. We need all of you.
We'll take you back to the Delta to join our people. We have walls, we have working solar panels, and we grow our own food. All we need from you is to go back to your friends and convince them to come peacefully.
I like Lily with this hair.
I'm not Marlon.
Here's what I'll do. I'll take the little squirt here right now. That way, I'm sure you'll play nice.
Be smart about this, Clementine. It's an us or them kind of world, Clem.
So why
if you want to
Lily?
save your little one, you won't pick them.
Run!
Run!
Don't shoot! Run! Run! Oh my god!
Come on!
Is Lily the bad guy? Oh my god! Oh shit! Is he shot? Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! Oh! Okay, I messed up. Hello, let me try this again. Let me try this again. Okay. Is it mango flavor of monster that's not great? Mango? Really? Usually mango is... You can't go wrong with mango. Okay, what button was it? It was E, right? Oh, Q. Oh, he tripped. This way? Guys, I'm so bad at quick time events.
Oh shit.
Oh, Clem, get up! Oh!
I think we lost him.
Yeah, you could outrun a walker. Okay. I almost clicked the wrong button.
Clem.
No, AJ! Oh god.
Shit.
There's one called Ultra Peachy Keen, a peach color can. It tastes like a fuzzy peach candy. I don't really like peach flavor though. You know? Is it actually bad, the mango one? Okay. Press E to... Okay. I remember. There's another one here. This one? Come here. Don't follow me. Come here. Okay. Welcome in, Chaos. Welcome. Hello, Eldrin. Welcome in, Eldrin. Welcome. What's this, the new hairstyle? It's a 2.0 Shinobi. It's a long hair. How are you, Eldrin? How are you, Chaos? How was work? Mango Loco is the best monster of all time. You like it? I haven't really tried out much flavors though for monsters. Oh. Cute. What the hell? Did I not click fast enough? I was spamming that. Ultra strawberry drinks is kind of good. I love strawberry. Yeah, I'll get strawberry. Usually, like, I love anything that's like strawberry lemonade flavor. Okay. What? What? There's another one to my right. 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 Okay. Got myself a breakfast, prepared coffee, and now I'm watching your stream while drinking that coffee. Oh, nice, nice. Eldrin drinking coffee? Usually, I always see you drink tea, Eldrin. Okay. Wait, this guy looks different. Oh.
Stop.
Wait.
Too loud.
What's this? Thank you for the leg. Thank you. Wait, who is that? There's nothing worse than fake strawberry flavor. What? I love anything strawberry flavor. Okay.
Follow.
AJ, no. Is he also a kid? Now for the strawberry part, just cause it's not as sweet or bland like the real punch. What is real punch? Real punch, the fruit punch one? Fruit punch? Not that fake chemical strawberry flavor is the worst. What? I love that fake chemical strawberry flavor. I love that. Oh my god, the punch one makes your stomach. Not gonna lie, I get it. I don't like anything like punch flavor. It can't just be me, right? I don't know. I just like. I'm not a big fan of punch. Anything punch flavor. Oh, AJ finally dying? Hell yeah! Yeah, he got shocked. Wait, who are you? I do usually drink tea, but I ran out of lemons and tea. Oh, and tea without lemon is just not doing it for me unless it's green tea or some fruit tea. Oh, I see. You know, I understand. I can't. I need to drink tea with like milk or like, I don't know, with fruits in it. Oh. This one? Oh my god! It's just like clam all over again. Okay. The worst of all time is ultra pineapple though. Okay, I get pineapple. You know they call pineapple the fruit that bites back because it's like, you guys know what I mean, right? It's very like sour and like, yeah.
Try not to be loud.
It's okay, AJ. Just breathe.
Put your hands there. Stop the bleeding.
I bite back.
It's okay, AJ.
The strawberry
I'm
one?
just gonna patch you up.
Oh, welcome, Miss Fantasma. Welcome. Oh no, do we need to steal more meds for AJ?
It's enough. For now.
Not gonna lie, AJ low-key deserved this. Low-key. Okay, low-key. This is what they call karma.
Easy.
You shoot someone, you get shoot back. Or you get shot back.
We lost it, buddy.
So how was your day? Who's the zombie face? I actually don't know. We just met him like right now.
Yeah, probably.
The strawberry one is also kind of reminds me of that horror strawberry candy my grandma used to give me all the time. I love that! The one that has like the strawberry like wrapper, right? I love those. I used to like steal those from like my teachers when I was a kid. Who is this kid? Something for the hip has. Oh, this gives me flashback
I didn't mean
to a
to
certain
endanger
specific
you.
game where it's just like
The
this.
walkers were sent to help you.
You
Mango
sent the
Loco,
walkers?
Assault and Aussie, Lemonade on top
Was
3.
part of a group.
Assault and
Called
Aussie,
themselves Whisperers.
Lemonade. That's an actual flavor.
They've learned
That's
to
an
live in
actual
herds
flavor.
among walkers.
A salted
Moving
and
them.
Aussie lemonade.
Sometimes guide them.
Why are you alone if you were part of a group?
Feeling out of it,
They
skip
attacked the
stream, but I'm
community.
doing
Saw the
Sternova
carnage.
dailies now. Oh, nice, nice.
Didn't want to be part
Make
of
sure you take care of yourself, you know? Drink lots of water.
Does it
Unlike
hurt?
me, I haven't slept
Hungry.
in like, I don't know, a long time. I've been up for like, I don't know, how long, guys? Like 37 hours now? Oh my god. Thank you. I'll take it.
Thank you.
Can I give it to AJ instead? Oh. Yeah, AJ's having it.
Do you have a name?
Been a while.
Since...
He's so...
I've said it.
Wait, he's kind of cute. James? James.
Why did you help us, James?
Baxter. Who's James?
The people who attacked you. What do you know about them?
They steal children.
They steal kids. They took 2 last year.
A common practice.
Assault is Assault is
They're at
cola?
war up north.
Cola
Their
can.
entire community
Oh,
against another.
cola.
It's why they take people. To make them fight.
Oh, Assault is cola,
Train.
lemonade, Aussie lemonade is one. Ah.
You would join their war.
That's horrible.
A war?
Yes.
Shouldn't you need sleep? I do need
That's
sleep.
why I helped you.
It's okay. My brain just don't want to sleep, you know?
Thank you.
In my head, my brain is like, if I sleep, I'm like wasting hours. I'm losing hours of my days of doing things, you know?
Wait. Throw
A
it.
rock?
Distract him. Works just as well. And nobody gets hurt.
He talks so
Not us.
breathy. It reminds me of
Not him.
Luke. My favorite monster flavor are Pacific Punch, Ultra Black, and now Real Punch. You're a punch
Thank you.
lover, Elgin. Oh my god. We don't have Ultra Black in Germany. I don't. What is Ultra Black? I don't think I. Okay, you guys remember all the names? I remember them by like the color
It was
of the
difficult
can.
to send the herd in to save you. I didn't want them to die.
Oh. It's cherry flavor? Cherry flavor. I love cherry flavor. Like, I love cherry cola. Actually, one of my favorite.
So,
I actually
James,
prefer cherry cola
just
over regular
hang around
cola.
in the woods, saving random people.
Shinei-san, it's called insomnia.
After I left my group,
Is
I
that what
wandered.
it is? Is that what
First
it is?
time alone.
So
Ever.
true, brain so true. Insomnia
Saw war
can lead to
everywhere.
bad health later on.
First against walkers.
And later on, what about
then
now?
against each other. Hoped it would be better here.
And you should just get the Zero Ultra Monster? Yeah! Besides the regular one, I
Where are
always
you
get the
from?
Zero Ultra one or like the watermelon one.
Here?
The one with like the red
Or
top.
somewhere far away.
Oh my
You
god,
can't
I
remember.
don't know.
Even if you can remember, you can't remember what it was like to belong.
Damn. He's so depressed. He's such a sad boy. God, I wanna hug him.
So,
I can fix
where
you.
are you
I can
from?
fix you, James. I can fix you.
Washington.
Washington.
The city or the
No,
state?
Dryington. Oh.
The city. Dad ran a food truck.
I say
helped.
womp womp. I'll make him a fanboy. I don't know, but all ultra flavors are very mid. I don't
You've
like the
got a
zero sugar
fever.
stuff.
Is
Really?
one woman
I like
probably
it. I feel like
Medicine.
it's not
If
that
you're lucky
different
enough
from
to
like the
have it.
regular ones. You know?
The school has medicine, but
At least you never
I don't
heard
think
Shen
they
doing
should.
anything other than laugh.
That's why those people
That is
attacked
true.
you, isn't it?
That is true. I'm
To
a
get to
giggle
that
bot.
school.
Okay, guys.
They'll destroy whatever they find.
Yeah, this
Bring more
guy's an
guns,
edgelord.
more fighters. Keep everyone
That's exactly
inside.
what he is. He's an
You won't be able to
edgelord.
medicine. You have to go back, or you'll lose him.
I wonder school.
I have to go back and warn them. It's the right thing to do.
I don't think they'll help AJ
Noble
though.
of you, despite the treatment.
Okay. Is he a kid? He's a kid, right?
I'll help you get back.
I can't
Past
tell
the
if he's a
walkers.
kid or he's just like a very
A few more hours and we'll go.
like
That's a few hours
like
for you to
young adult.
I'll stay awake. You don't have to.
I mean, me neither, but with the ultra cherry, it's not noticeable. Oh, ultra black?
Sleep. I'll keep watch.
Okay, sleep is a good idea. I trust him.
Okay.
I trust him, you know? I trust him.
What about
So
you?
thank you for the read email, Adrian. Thank you.
Not tonight. Rest well.
Lord Chuckington. Chuckington? You got auto-modded for the word chunking?
Good night.
Chuckington?
Good night.
And then you wake up with a missing kidney? Oh no! Oh no! Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you. This is the last of my monster. Okay, I have water.
Is he awake?
Yeah, he's so hot.
Chuck!
I can carry
Cuck! Oh, Cuckington!
Exhausted.
Sorry guys, I haven't slept in like 37 hours.
No, I've got it.
Oh my god, Clem, you're so strong. I stand corrected, Loma. He kind of looks like the cheap version of Leon.
Almost
Leon,
there.
you think he looks like Leon? He's not blonde though. Also, this guy looks kind of Asian, no?
Walker!
Oh shit! Bro, take off your mask.
Violet! Lewis! They came back!
God.
Look,
Oh,
you
she
would have
can't.
been wrong,
Yeah, I
right?
can't read, guys. I can't read.
You could
I'm
stay with us.
illiterate. Brain on autocorrect? Yeah, my brain is on autocorrect.
Not ready.
Not ready. You'll be fine. Whoa, he's such a. Look at that aura. He's so edgy. Oh my god. Look at bro.
I can't keep carrying you. We'll be inside soon. Rest now.
Don't fall down, Clem. Don't fall down right now, Clem. Don't fall down. Open the goddamn door, Lewis.
Shit. Is he?
Yes, he is.
He was shot. He's got a fever.
Come on, let's get him inside.
I can't.
It's okay, buddy. I got you.
Oh my god. Not gonna lie, in the beginning, I liked Lois, but like now, I don't like him anymore. I don't know. He's kind of.
I have what I need upstairs. Come on.
We got the shrapnel out of him.
We?
It's a long story.
He's running a fever. Body's trying to fight infection, poor little guy.
Ruby and Lewis will take care of him. You come with me. We can talk in
Who
the
is
office.
you?
Clem?
What are we
You
gonna
just
talk
try
about?
to rest, okay? We're gonna fix you right up.
Clem!
Yep, AJ, you better not bite her again.
AJ, listen to Ruby, okay? She'll look after you.
Bit of a poser. Poser.
Come on. What do we do
All
when we're
style,
scared?
no substance. And not much
Fear
style
starts
either.
to get the upper hand.
You do all breathing, remember?
We breathe in. Hold it in. I'm good now.
Clementine, please. We need to talk.
I'm coming, Violet. I would have said don't let it take over. Well, I only said the breathing part because, like, earlier
Out in the woods,
I was like
saw
trying
they
to
had
calm him
you
down, and I
hanging.
was like, breathe in, breathe out, you
That's
know.
so crazy.
Repeat it again so he remembers to calm down.
When I heard you call for help, I didn't even think.
Violet,
I wanted to help
do you like
but
me?
when you told us to run, I had to trust you. Thank you for protecting us. It was really brave. I really thought you were dead, Clem.
Sorry to
It's just
disappoint.
everything is so fucked right now.
They almost died, asshole.
Everyone is scared. Clem.
Sorry to
Sorry
disappoint.
to disappoint. You'll have to put up with us for a while longer.
No disappointment here. I'm glad you came back.
Did she like me? I thought she hated me.
What about Mitch and the others?
Oh, well, they're less excited about it. Lewis and I told them what happened in the woods. That woman who attacked you.
Lily.
So you do know her. We were wondering. Who the hell is she? I mean, I know you're not, like, with her group, but the others don't like the coincidence. Her
We were-
showing up right after you.
We were friends.
I mean,
Lily and I were friends a long time ago.
friends?
Back when the walkers first showed up, we lived in a motor inn. Survived really awful shit. Lily tried to keep us all together.
Looks like she's changed.
Yeah, seems that way. She murdered someone in our group, gunned them down during an argument. Carly was her name. She refused to let Lily push her around. It was right at the start. I haven't seen Lily since.
I believe you.
But
There's something else. Willie said someone was with you at the gates.
Oh, yeah.
James. He saved me and AJ, let us stay in his camp for the night.
But why did you bring him here? You led him right to us. I mean, he's a stranger, Clem.
I trust him.
Running into those two in the woods.
I
it
trust
proved
him.
We can't
He
trust
saved
him.
my
You don't have
life.
to worry about James. We can trust him.
Willie said he was wearing, I don't know, animal skins or something.
Did you kill Lily's dad? I did.
That's
No,
how
no,
he gets
no.
past hers.
I didn't.
He can
Okay,
guide
it
them,
was,
too.
it was Kenny. Okay, it
Okay.
was Kenny.
I
Kenny
wouldn't
did.
have brought him
I
here
didn't.
if I thought he was a threat.
Okay, I was just
It's
a
not that
child. I
don't
was just an
trust you.
innocent
I'm
child.
just worried
Okay.
about the others and what they did. They didn't even get a chance to
United
warn
States
Brady
of
and Marlon before
Assholes,
these
USA,
top Mickey Mouse
USA.
guys showed up. And then you two come back after
Oh
we
my
thought you
God,
were
that's
dead.
funny.
Now they're confused, and no one knows how to feel about AJ.
Violet, AJ is the least of their worries.
I know, but everything is such a mess. They're scared and angry, and they're looking for someone to blame. I mean, they kicked you out. How am I supposed to make them change their minds about you? It was decided
Take a
5 to
little
3
swipe.
against. I know it feels like it shouldn't matter, but they were afraid of you. Both of you.
You're in Marlon's chair.
Last thing they need is more things to fear right now.
You're sitting in Marlon's chair, aren't you?
Is she the new leader?
You're their leader now. They'll listen
She's
to you.
the leader.
They don't, though. They only listen when they want to.
Well, they'll
She's
have to
the
start
leader?
if they want to survive what's coming.
What?
James told me what Lily and Abel will do next. He said they'll get more people and guns and come attack us. Take everyone here.
How the hell would he know?
He's watched them for a while. They're at war with another community. They take people to fight for them.
Oof.
Is that what happened to Minnie and Sophie? They turned them into soldiers?
Yeah, it'll happen to us too if we don't stop them.
Minnie didn't even like killing walkers.
Bam, bam, boom, boom. Bam, bam. Sing for the flame. Thank you.
It's a fortress.
Hey, Hey, boogie woogie bam
With a little
bam.
work, we could make this place really hard to attack.
Do you actually know how to do that?
Okay,
Yeah,
Banger.
I was part of a siege once in a
Banger.
town called Richmond.
I hardly even know
Here,
her.
let me show you.
Erickson. Okay. Fortify the walls.
We've got good, strong walls. We need to make them hard to climb over, so the raiders have to come in through the gates.
We used to
I
keep
don't
barbed wire in the
think-
greenhouse.
A bunch of kids
This is where we should make our stand.
defending
There's
themselves
only one way in, the
against
front, and then there's the big
full-grown
central staircase.
adults
If
with
we rig that
weapons
path with
and
traps,
guns.
we can pull back here.
No way we could win
Luring in
this,
our
right?
attackers. I like it.
There's absolutely no way.
The courtyard's pretty wide open, not a lot of cover.
Excuse me, but have you
We
seen
should
Home
flip the
Alone?
picnic
You
tables.
know,
Where
that's
are
a
we?
good
Halfway through.
argument. That's
So we know
that's
which
a
way
good
they're coming.
argument.
You
At the very least,
You got
it'll
me
give
there.
us protection if we get past these walls.
I didn't think of that.
Well, you guys don't use the greenhouse anymore, do you?
Oh my god, we're gonna Home Alone
We
them.
used to. But we lost someone out there. Walkers overran the place and Marlon wouldn't let us go back. Safe zone.
We need to get that barbed wire so they can't climb the walls. I'll go.
Are you sure? It's gonna be swarming with walkers by now.
Okay, what the hell's going on?
Oh,
They told me she was back, but I was like, no way. Violet wouldn't just go against what we all decided.
Shh. Would you keep it down? The little boy's asleep.
chill, bro,
His fever's already
chill.
going down, Clem. He's gonna be okay.
Great. We're just giving them our medicine, too?
Mitch, those raiders are getting ready to attack the
Mitch,
school.
you know what you are? A
We
bit.
need Clem's help.
Like hell we do. For all we know, she's one of
Give
them.
the kid
She's
Bear
not.
50 and one
If you
of
saw the
Desert
raiders' boot
Eagle.
on Clem's neck, you'd know
What is
that.
a Desert Eagle?
All I know is that since she showed up, it's been trouble.
Try to trust me. Oh yeah, the death
Clem's
stare.
going to the greenhouse to find barbed wire and anything else she thinks we need for the fight, and you're going to help her.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. It's too dangerous for her to go by herself, and you're good in a fight.
I can go too. You know, to keep the peace.
But I feel like she's the. I
Since
feel
when are
like
you the
she
one
should
making
stay.
calls?
She's the medic, right? Technically.
Since no one
Okay,
else
why is
stepped
the
fuck
medic always going on
These two will
like?
meet you at the gate, and you can head to the greenhouse once I've
Jobs.
explained the situation.
Shouldn't the medic stay in the safe zone? Cause she's like the most
See
valuable,
you there.
right?
I'm so sorry, little dude.
Oh my god, did you ask about D Eagles? Yeah, what is D Eagles? Desert Eagles? Is a handgun capable of loading .5 cal rounds, a bit excessive for shooting people? Oh. Desert is a Magnum with 50 AE or 44 Magnum? Guys, I don't know anything about guns. I only know my red 4. my red 9. Handgun with huge bullets. Ah, I see, I see. You could shoot a D Eagle and have it fly back in your face from the... That's kind of scary, isn't it? Think of it like that, but 10 times more powerful. Oh.
Guess I didn't realize how long it's been. How much it's changed.
This ain't budging.
I'm more worried about the medic being nice. Anyone who's along
Well, we
to
need
keep
that
the
barbed
peace is
wire.
gonna die.
There must be another way in.
Am I gonna die then? I'm all about peace. Talk to Ruby.
Are you okay?
It's been so long since I
Oh,
was
this is a
here.
YouTube video of a woman
I
doing
used
that.
to love this
Oh.
place. But it's so overgrown.
She fires and the recoil makes
I'll be fine.
the tip hit her nose.
Let's just find a way in.
That's scary! So if I shoot it, I might get like a black eye just from it like hitting back for the kickback. Foggy glass.
I can't see shit.
There's too much condensation on the inside.
But then evenly.
Condensation.
Oh, that's true.
That's a big word for you.
Shut up.
That's kind of funny. Talk to Mitch.
What do you want?
Shen, when are you going to go to sleep?
You're only here because we're desperate, you know.
I'm not talking
so
to you,
get
Seri.
comfy. If we survive these raiders,
I don't know. After
you
this?
and I are gonna have words.
Let's survive first.
After this stream. The ladder? Ladder? But I hardly
That
even know
window.
her.
I bet we can get in there. Good spot.
Yeah, lift me up.
Mitch,
Boost
come here
me
and
up.
give me a boost.
Wait. Make her go first.
We send the one we don't mind losing.
Oh,
That's an ugly
damn.
thing to say.
Fine,
I
I'll
says we need
go.
her help,
I'll
right?
go.
She shouldn't mind sticking her neck out.
I'll go first. I don't mind.
Look at him. Look at him with his Justin Bieber hair.
Figured you'd fight it.
Thanks.
So I'm sending you a pic of the Eagle compared to a standard 9mm.
Holler if one grabs you.
The gun
Otherwise
is in
we'll come
Resident
as
Evil
soon as you
5
get the all
called
clear.
the Lightning Hawk
Guess we'll know when the door
or L
opens.
Hawk. Oh. The Eagle. The Eagle? The Eagle? The Eagle these. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, the Eagle is the bigger one? Chaos? Oh my god. Nuts? Okay, zombie. No! Put a weapon! Grab knife! Get!
I'm fine.
Another one? Okay, how many people were hiding in this greenhouse? We see. Down! Okay. Oh! Usually one's a bit stronger but slower, the other one is faster. Oh.
I'm coming.
Revolver style
I'll get the
magnum.
door open.
Wait, what's the difference between a revolver and a magnum, guys? Isn't a magnum like
Not
stronger
bad.
than a revolver? And a revolver is stronger than a pistol?
Oh, look. Wild ginger. Eastern prickly pear. Jerusalem artichoke. False Solomon seal.
Oh god, this game.
Let's find
Welcome
that
in,
barbed wire.
Mr. Welcome,
Anything else that
welcome.
might
Good
be
luck, thank you. How are you? How's your day? Magnum is ice cream. Welcome in, Narbrawl underscore Gamma. Welcome. How are you? Welcome to the stream. How was your day?
Crazy. These herbs are gonna do wonders for morale. You wait and see.
For the like, miss. Thank you. Like a shovel.
Could be a weapon.
Or use it to dig a grave.
Oh, true.
You weren't there when we dug the holes for Marlin and Brody. We had to use cups and bowls. Took forever.
Damn. Are you blaming me? Magnum handguns use more powerful rounds, I believe.
Found something?
Yep, maybe useful.
Trowel. Trowel? Pribar? And RE specifically induces a much rarer ammo and hits much harder. Yeah, in Resident Evil, I've never used the Magnum. I'm not even kidding.
Dibs.
Did
Talk
you
to
find
Mitch.
anything?
What do you think?
Okay, just asking.
Yeah.
You know, the barbed wire idea is smart, I'll give you that. Those
The
assholes
fact that
try and
she
climb our
just
walls,
stuffed
they'll
that
tear their guts
crowbar
out.
in her
kinda like to see
magic
that.
inventory. Revolver is limited to 6 shots, sometimes 5, but can be made to be a magnum, yes. Oh. Oh, pick up mushroom.
Some
A
mushrooms
revolver
are
is just
edible.
another type of handgun, like a semi-automatic pistol, and RE revolvers are always magnums, but there are semi-auto magnums too. I see. Oh my god, so much to take in about guns. Did I look at everything? Oh, this. Should I eat it? We don't have to eat it. Ew.
What? This was for science.
Bro, gun nerds, get out! Gun nerds. Oh, pry open cabinet. Thank you for the flyer. Thank you. I want a gun. I would love to get a gun. We're just nerding. You don't need to remember this shit.
A lot of it too.
If I were to get a gun, what kind of gun, guys?
We can use these.
For what?
We can make bombs out of these.
Bombs?
Bombs?
Are you serious?
Out of fertilizer?
It's the kind of stuff I made back home.
He used to blow shit up. That's why he's a troubled youth.
Guilty. I just need some propane and something to create a spark. And we'll have
Should she get a water gun? A water gun, guys! I don't want a water gun. I don't trust it was a real gun. Okay, I'm pretty trustworthy, you know. I want to go to a gun range one day. Oh. One day.
If I remember right, there's a science lab through that door. Maybe there's propane in
That
there.
way, if you mishandle it, you'll spray more.
Help me move this thing.
That is true. That is true. Damn, that was loud. Usually Hellcats are a good starter. A good starter.
Okay, let's see what's inside.
Okay. Is there a zombie in here? Oh, I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! Oh, she's zip tied to the shift cube.
Rose, what's going on? You all right?
We had a scare, that's all.
We had a scare.
Oh no.
What? Nosy cricket gun should be well suited for you. A noisy cricket gun.
Miss Martin. Our nurse at the school.
Oh, Miss Martin.
She stayed when all the others left. God. She looks...
She looks dead. Whoa, she still got boobs though.
Barely recognize her.
She's just pet food.
Just like all the others.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, Ruby.
If she gets an SMG, safest place is directly in front of her. Why not me? Because I have bad because I have bad aim.
Came out looking for
What do you
food.
mean? Ah, what do you
Walkers
mean?
attacked us. Thought we could fight them off, but there were so many. Ms. Martin told us to run, so we did. She taught me how to patch people up. Stitching, local anesthetics, painkillers.
She's gonna die.
Fever reducers.
She's gonna die. She's having like this flashback moment.
I don't think I can.
You know? This vulnerable moment. That means she's gonna die.
Would you? I'm sorry.
Me? I kill her. What are you doing?
Are you okay?
Yeah. Just
Take that, you zombie!
Give me a minute.
Help me find that propane and we can get out of here.
Die, zombie!
Good
Find the
police
propane.
work, Officer Nancy.
Thank you for the blurb. Thank you. Joke aside, they usually come in as select fire, set it to semi-auto, treat it like a high-capacity pistol. Oh. A flight trap. That sounds scary. The SpongeBob sound. Oh, chalkboard? Chemistry? For what? That's it? Wait, is this important? I don't know. We'll find out. Pick up propane tank. Huh. Before I grab that
You
beaker?
find anything?
I don't know what this is.
She just shoved the plant up her ass.
You seem to know a
Don't
lot
worry
about
about
bombs.
chaos.
I made
Game
my first one
logic.
when I was 8.
Really?
I blew up the garage. It was awesome. Though, Dad didn't think it was awesome. Dad
He
gave
blew
me
up
a
the
chemistry
garage
set to keep
when
me
he
from
was
fighting
8.
the neighbors.
Why would you fight the neighbors?
I had a lot of energy. I had to use it somehow. And they didn't like my face.
Damn. Okay, I looked at that. Wait, can I talk to her? Examine flask. Give Shannon AA12 is GG. Okay. Talk to you, Ruby.
Ms.
Ruby
Martin
chan.
went to you, huh?
She was the only one who stayed.
No, making a cannon.
She
They
saw us
store
floating
items up their
away.
asses.
Bunch of kids who no one wanted. She loved us when nobody else did. Like, really loved us.
Yeah, I've known people like that.
I guess everyone has.
Should try it? What do you mean? I should try, huh? What do you mean try it? Like it's sticking up, sticking something up the ass. Okay, I talked to Marlon already. Oh no, not Marlon. What the fuck is his name? Mitch? I talked to Mitch. Propane. Anything else I need to look at? I looked at this. Looked at this. Oh! Igniters.
Mitch, is this useful?
Fucking A. I was hoping there'd be one of those.
Fucking
It's
A,
an igniter.
mate.
We can use it to create a spark. Now we just have to find propane. We can blast those motherfuckers to hell.
Alright. Propane. Right here.
Let's hope there's gas in it.
AA12 was the semi-auto shotgun. Yes. What the heck? This is so heavy.
Yeah, perfect. Here.
Yeah, carry it.
Good, fine. Now we have everything we need. We should get back and tell the others.
We have to bury Ms. Martin first.
Bury her? Why bother? It's a walker. Help me drag it out back. We can burn it.
No. Ms. Martin's the reason we're all alive.
And?
She deserves a proper burial here. Next to the greenhouse she loved. That way the others won't have to see her like this.
She's been dead for years. There's no point.
Bury her.
She deserves a real burial.
I'll help you bury her. It's the right thing to do for someone you cared about.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
It's not a her. It's a walker.
Ooh, that guy's gonna live
Fine,
long.
whatever. I'm not wasting my energy on that thing.
Oh my god, he's the next Kenny. The hatred keeps him alive. I swear.
I'll put a stone in the graveyard. Back at the school. Bet Ms. Martin loved this place. She'll be happy here. I'll make sure everyone knows you helped me. That you've got a good heart under all that muck.
Hey.
The kid doesn't get it. We're not doing this for the teacher. We're doing it for Ruby. Exactly, right? Exactly.
Think it'll be enough?
Hopefully. And it means Lily and her
He's a very
people won't be able to climb the walls.
Angsty
They'll have
kid.
to come through the gates. We can plan
Going
for
through
that.
puberty, you know,
Straight into a
just
fiery
don't mind him.
explosion of death. Assholes won't know what hit them.
Why are y'all talking about guns? Truly an American stream. Very American. Guys know, like earlier today. Oh, should I do something Asian? That sounds like a setup for something racist. Like, what is Asian? Like, do math? That's racist. I can't even do math.
I noticed his shirt.
You asked me like what 11 times?
You know.
Like 12 is? I don't even know.
They were 10s back when he got here. He'd be about AJ's size. How's he doing?
What's 7 times 9? I don't even know, okay? I don't even know.
Thank you for
What's 9 times 7? I don't know!
No problem. So, we've got a greenhouse again. And bombs.
Mitch's idea.
I figured. Violet says we'll start getting this place ready in the morning.
Good.
It's 63, damn
They
it!
all seem okay with letting me stay.
9 times
For
7?
now, anyway. While we get ready to fight.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
all I
glad.
wanted.
All I've wanted is for them to forgive us.
I said they're fine with you being here, at least till the raiders are gone.
Damn.
That doesn't mean they
Damn,
don't like you.
he's so quick with it.
Everyone else is okay with us staying. What about you?
It's fine.
You lost
Well,
your
he gets
Asian
better.
part because you are too American, it seems.
And after
I
that?
am
I
too
don't know,
American.
Clementine.
Hey, kiddo. How do you feel? Better. Still hurts.
I know.
Hi, Louis.
Hey, little dude.
I missed you. Are we friends
No,
again?
no, you start off good at it and then start falling off quick. You know, that is true.
Just get some sleep, okay?
Okay, I think I'm good at math. It's just the numbers that includes 7. I'm sorry we hurt you.
I'm sorry. That you're
Yeah, the
hurting
numbers
and,
that includes
It's our fault.
It
or
wasn't
the questions that
Marlon,
includes the number 7 or 9 or 11 or
Forget it.
12 or 13
I should go.
or 14. Anything above that, you know, it's just a little bit
I'm not mad
shaky,
at
you
him
know.
anymore. Are you? He helped carry me, and he was by my bunk when Ruby gave me stuff. Medicine.
I'll get over it.
I'll get over it.
It's okay if you're mad. To feel that way.
You're
Exactly.
right. Let's get a look at the shirts Louis
It's okay
brought
to
you.
be mad.
Then we'll
Emotions
sleep. It's
makes
been a
you
long
human.
day.
Yeah.
I have shirts for
James
Asians.
was nice, but I don't like sleeping on the ground.
Me neither.
Every digit from 0 to 9. From basically, okay, 1, 2 is pretty easy, you know. 3 a little bit shaky. 5 is really easy. 4 is alright. Look at shirts. Can I pick one? Veggie Tales. Disco broccoli shirts. AJ Erickson sports jersey. Science dog shirt. Huh, let's go with this one. I like funky shirts.
Hey, look. It's Disco Broccoli and his friend. I wish you could have seen this cartoon.
Me too.
It's not good. Think? You know, I know.
This one will work. You can put it on when you feel better, okay?
Yeah.
Time for sleep.
I can't sleep with a light.
My ADHD won't let me
I'll
do
blow it
math.
out in a second.
Really? Place flight trap? Wait, I have a flight trap? Oh! That. Okay, I looked at that already. Mushroom?
Wonder how long it'll last.
Is that it? Anything else? Can I talk to AJ? No? Where is he staring at? Nothing? Okay.
That plant looks scary.
Oh,
it is. It's a fly
Oh.
trap. It eats bugs. A plant can eat bugs?
A carnivore plant.
That's so awesome.
Thank you for the head pass, thank you for the hydrate, thank you.
Good night. Sleep tight.
When I try to add up numbers, I
Only
get
if it
distracted by the
tries.
numbers. What?
Bang.
How does that even work? What about the numbers? The numbers, Michelle. What about the? What does the number mean? This is so funny. Before I got out of school, my last test was a 5 in math. What? Whoa! It works with ADHD. God damn. Math is okay. I feel like as long as you know how to like add and subtract, you'll be fine. Okay. Oh, he changed his shirt. Oh, why are you evil and freaking out? Because I'm a bad goat. I'm so sorry. Shit, no, what do you mean? By the way, Shen, I will blow up your American mind. Not all countries celebrate 4th of July. Jokes aside, so many times I heard about the Americans who thought everyone celebrates 4th of July. A couple on vacation. Really? I mean, isn't the 4th of July the day of independence for the US? I thought that was like obvious, no? It's okay. A lot of Americans are not very smart. Find AJ. Find it. Huh? Horse? Oh, I'm having a nightmare. Wait, why a horse? Why a horse? It should be obvious, but apparently it's not. You know, I understand. I know a lot of Americans, you know,
AJ,
that I go to school with. There's a lot of things they don't know. That should be common sense, you know? Wait! Horse? Baby AJ? Baby AJ?
AJ.
I already met a few that thought we would celebrate it in Germany. Really? US default song. It's kind of funny. This is some end movie dying type shit. Are you standing on the table?
Having a nightmare.
Is your feet on the table right now,
Someone we
AJ?
used to have all the time. About what happened at the ranch.
I'll be okay. Just give me a minute.
Hey, why is he holding a knife?
Hey, what do you have there? Did you have a bad dream too? You've been having them a lot lately.
Oh, the kid's traumatized.
I feel safer like this, not sleeping. I want to stay up forever. I probably could.
Oh my god.
Like
Relatable.
18 days, if I tried hard.
You're safe here.
We're safe here, AJ.
I believe part of it is that we have like less exposure
Doesn't
to other
feel like
countries in our news. You know, that is
You used
true.
to think
That is
so?
true. I'm not even kidding. I know a lot of like people, you know, who are like very close-minded because
Let me help you back to bed.
No,
like they've only seen things within
you don't have to
their
keep
bubble,
checking
you
on
know? Like the US lives in a
You
bubble.
always say, be tough. So I am. You say, be strong. And I will. All the time.
A feel of the table. Toughest boy I know.
You're the toughest boy I know. Probably the toughest boy in the whole world.
Yeah, you gotta glaze him.
Not as tough
Stab,
as
stab, stab.
Well,
Stab,
no one's
stab,
as tough as me.
Thank you for the flame orange. Thank you, thank you. Welcome in. Also, welcome in, Kevin. Welcome,
sorry
welcome.
you had
How
to
are
do all the
you?
hard work.
High showers the kill count for the stream. Why is it
told
over
you.
9,000? Nobody died yet. Nobody died yet. I swear. Nobody died yet.
I'm gonna help you more, so you don't have
Did
to do
it?
everything.
No, nobody died yet.
Where are you
It's
going?
over 9,000!
It's
patrol.
over 9,000. Thank you
danger.
for the reading.
Bad
For
people,
danger?
monsters, whatever you have nightmares about.
No, you're not.
Absolutely not. It's dark out there.
Actually, I'm kinda tired.
He's tricking me. He's
kind of
tricking
out of
me.
state.
He's gonna pretend to sleep,
I
and then
figured.
when I fall asleep, he's gonna leave.
What is it?
Could I maybe sleep in your bed? Like I did when I
Okay,
was
AJ, put the knife down
Come on
first.
up.
He's kinda.
I'm not scared, just tired.
Makes sense to me.
Is he gonna stab me? Yo,
Think you need that?
I'm kinda. Yeah, put it down. Get that 5-year-old to bed.
AJ?
What?
No way, I'm
You're
gonna
still
believe
little.
nobody died in 1.5 hour of a stream. Yeah, nobody
Yeah,
died. I bet you killed like 3 NPCs during the stream started. No. I swear to God, nobody died yet. But we did met some new people, you know? Was that a glass knife? Yeah. I think it was like a piece of shard, like glass. Okay, Mitch. We gonna talk to Mitch?
You ready to work today,
How else
kiddo?
do you expect it to
dreams
warm up
always
for
make me
stream?
more
Me too.
Just let better in your bed.
Open the door
That's
and
what
throw
I'm
the
trying to
knife as far as you can. Yeah, go say hi.
I have other stuff I need to do.
What stuff?
Nothing.
Oh, the arguing.
It's important.
God damn it, Lewis. Take this seriously for once in your life.
I've been taking this seriously for fucking days. Almost 2 weeks.
So has everyone. Get over yourself.
Oof. Oof. Violet. Beat him up. Beat him
I
up.
thought Lily and Abel would show up days ago. I wonder why they're holding off.
Don't know. All I wanted was more time to prepare, but now this waiting sucks and everyone's on edge.
Need my help?
God.
Yeah.
I think it was a shorted glass with duct tape
Could you
for a
check on
handle.
everyone and make sure they're doing
Reminds me of
shit
the
right?
shifts in The Last
Sure.
of Us.
I'm on it.
Thanks, Clem.
Oh my god.
I should
You know,
get
I was
bored up the
watching
back
some
hallway,
like
since
The
Lewis
Last of
isn't
Us
gonna do it.
gameplay, and like, I don't know. Should I play it? I kind of want to play it, but I've seen the show. I've seen so many people play it already that like, I don't know if I want to play myself. Like a rebel.
Nothing left we can use.
Clem, show me what you got.
Tried to
A
rebuild it
knife!
after it burned
No!
down.
I know that video. Anything over here? Can I look at the grave? Oh no! No, the dog! No! No, Rosie. Come here, girl.
Good girl.
Aww.
What did Marlon used to do?
No, that's so sad. Wait, but what has the phone shown me for 2 years, 7 months, 11 days, and 2 hours? Damn, almost 3 years. Oh my god, almost 3 years. Look at Marlon's grave. Brody, spit on Marlon's grave. Should I do it?
I hope it's beautiful where you are, Brody.
Who's Marlon? Marlon is the kid with the mullet that AJ killed. And he was the leader, and he was the one who like traded the 2 sisters. Oh, Miss Martin's grave.
Ms. Martin, thanks for protecting me.
Why do we have beef with him? Yeah, he was technically like the bad guy-ish. Should I spit on it? I'm gonna spit on it. Once you're famous, please build a statue of me. Statue with a wolf.